The High Court has told the government that it's reached its final deadline to demolish Amona. Have we reached the end of the road?
No, that was to be expected, but that's basically the reason why the ministers insisted on voting last night on the law that comes to regulate and change the status of the land, because that's basically the only option left to actually settle it before the deadline of Amona.
And why not go ahead and demolish if the court has said on multiple occasions that the settlement is illegal and should be demolished?
I'll explain. First of all, the court has said that on a status of a certain legal status that's to be changed now. And that, you know, the court has to rule and the legislators have to make laws. That's the way the system works.
Yossi, on this regulation bill, the Attorney General has said that this bill violates Israeli and international law and he cannot defend it at the High Court. Your response?
First of all, we have hundreds of attorneys that signed a petition. It's going to be in the newspapers towards the end of this week, that if he can represent the state in the Supreme Court, we voluntarily will represent the state. He has the right to reject the law, but the legislators have the right to make the law part of the legislation.
Are you not concerned as a citizen that the government might be acting against its own legal advice if it's told a bill it's trying to advance is illegal?
It won't be the first time that there's an argument between ministers and the Knesset members to the Attorney General. We've seen it in the past, and as I was saying, he has the right to reject and to say his opinion, and they have a right to promote the law, because we actually believe that the new law that was brought last night takes care of all the problems with the international law and can easily be legislated.
The Attorney General says that this bill amounts to the expropriation of private property. Would you agree with that assessment?
No, first of all, we should explain that there's no specific individual that proved his ownership on this piece of land. It's just land that's defined as private property and not state land, but unfortunately the state assisted the building of this settlement, and people have been living there for 20 years, so it makes sense to actually settle it, and that's what things would have been done the same way if it was in Tel Aviv or in Haifa. If there were 20 years later, one discovered that the property was private and not part of the state's property, no one will tear off the building, but rather pay compensation. This law offers 125% compensation to the owner if anyone actually proves his ownership.
But all the same, we're talking about settlements that the court has said are built on private land, and the court gave them an order to leave 2 years ago. What is the source of the reluctance to simply do what the court says and evacuate?
So I'm explaining again. Every Supreme Court ruling is based on a certain legal status. Now, according to the status that was until this law will be passed in the Knesset, Supreme Court ruled what he ruled. The second the status changes, so then we have a total different story, because then the law is different.